All right, rock stars, we are doing our first inquiry together. And so I want to walk through building an inquiry with you. This is the assignment. You're going to go into the New Hampshire framework. You're going to choose a standard that does not yet exist, somewhere between fifth grade and 12th grade. Any inquiry that says coming soon, go for it. There are a lot of coming soon inquiries in there. So maybe do a control find in document for anything, any spot where it says coming soon. I'm going to build an inquiry on Malinche with you right now. She was Cortez's translator slash wife slash mother of his heir slash slave. So she's a really complicated figure, and I've long been wanting to build an inquiry on her, and it's go time. So here we go. Um, you're going to write a one paragraph summary of the topic or point of the inquiry. The purpose of writing this one paragraph summary is for you to actually make sure you know what the heck you're talking about. And so what I would encourage you to do is Google your person, Google the topic, find an article about it, and give it a read. I'm going to skip over the Wikipedia result, and I'm instead going to go to the New York Historical Society. They have this awesome page called Women in the American Story. And if I wasn't the executive director of the Remedial History Project, I'd say they're pretty freaking awesome. While I'm here, this is a primary source. Oh, no, sorry, it is not. It's 1890s. This is not a primary source for these interactions. That's good to know. But what I was gonna say is I might download assets like images while I'm reading the article that could be helpful to me in building a PowerPoint or building out an inquiry. I already know all these things, so I'm not gonna like read this with depth, but this is great. And oftentimes when you do this, you will find resources like this where they're actually giving you discussion questions that you could use with kids or even suggested activities, which is awesome. PBS will have resources like this, so will the History Channel, and those are honestly going to be really helpful generic sources that you could find first. They also, in this case, have teaching materials. What do they have? Yeah, they lie. These are it's like they call it an article. They call an article a teaching material, which is why they work at a historical society and they're not teachers. Okay, so you're going to read this. You're going to summarize this, and that'll help you have a sense of where you're going. So what I know about her is that she's an incredibly complicated figure. I don't. Malintzin is what she should be called. La Malinche is kind of the derogatory version of that. So this is how I started, which is classic and bad. But anyway, this is the name that she should be known under. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to review the inquiry question. There aren't any inquiries on this woman in the framework, so I'm kind of skipping over that part of the process. But if you're picking one that says coming soon, we've given you a question that you can start with, and you might think that that question is trash when you look at it. So go through, is it debatable? Is it important? Is it researchable? Is it enduring? So let me go through that checklist. I don't have a good question for her yet, but I think what I've been working, the sort of working question in my head has been, was Malinche or was Malitzin a traitor? So let me double check that. Is it debatable? Yeah, like you're either going to argue that she is or she isn't. Is it important? I think so, because I think it's important because understanding enslaved people and women's agency, whether we're talking about Cortez or honestly right now, matters. Um, so I think there's something important about investigating agency in the classroom. Is it researchable? Yes. The source material is limited, but there is source material. Is it enduring? Yes. We have issues with women's agency right now, or rather doubting women's agency. There, are lots of high profile cases like the woman in France who was raped, and there's certainly people who are saying, I don't know if you know this case, so I won't go into a ton of detail here, but huge, huge case last summer. Her husband like drugged her for 10 years, and a lot of and then invited people to come rape her, and um, the I've seen, I mean, obviously he was convicted, all the guys were convicted. She has become this kind of like icon. But there was rhetoric from people saying, well, she was his wife, so she consented to this sort of stuff. And that is just like the worst example of denying women agency. And in cases like Mel Lynch, where she's enslaved. You could look at cases like Sally Hemings, who gave birth to Thomas Jefferson's child at 14 years old. Like, I think this is an enduring problem, where we deny women agency over their bodies and then sort of blame them, like calling her a traitor is sort of blaming her. At the same time, maybe she is a traitor, and this is where I think it's debatable because, like, I don't know, if your family sold you to slavery, maybe you'd feel things. So I don't know. I'm wondering here, but actually, what I'm modeling with my rambling is that you should spend some time thinking about this. So I think my question, was she a traitor, gets at all four criteria in Dyer. Um, I think it's enduring because also, like, if I lived in modern day Mexico, one question I would have is whether or not we should revere her as a hero and whether she should have statues, um, or was she like a collaborator with the invaders and therefore we shouldn't. I think it has meaning today in Latin American culture about what it means to be part of Latin America and sort of this mixed heritage, mixed indigenous and Spanish heritage. So I think it is, even though she's a micro example, I think it's a largely enduring question. Okay, so then you're going to build out a 3 to 10 slide PowerPoint using the PSU template. So you can go ahead and download this. This might be super annoying to you to use this template. I get that. Um, you should be able to click in, open it up. Part of the reason I want you to use the template is I want you to use my prompts. This is helping guide you. I'm getting at, was she a traitor? So I think I should know right off the bat, what does it mean to be a traitor? Might even put a picture of her. Let's go back here. We'll steal this picture right off the internet. Um, so I'll slap that image in. My computer has this fancy feature where you can just do this and it can like auto design it for you, which is kind of nice. If you're using like PowerPoint, it's up here under designer. Um, okay, so what does it mean to be a trader? I want to make sure people know what that means. Okay. Um, Oh, I said I should put it here. Okay, do what I said, not what I'm doing. I'm gonna title this. Okay, seems good. Okay, key terms. Traitor. Someone who, actually, no, don't do that. Don't do what I just did. Do this. A person who betrays a friend, a country, a something. Look at that. That's solid stuff right there. Yeah, we'll just keep that. Okay. Um, let's define her. Okay, I should probably define Cortez first. This is always out of order. Learn how to spell conquistador. Um, Mesoamerica is the term for like pre-modern America, Mexico. Okay. For now, those are the key terms. I might come back later and add some. Okay, details. Let's add some details. I'm gonna go back here. She was the eldest of Gribna region. Da, 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 da. Okay. So I honestly will paste right from sources. Um, maybe something like indigenous. Um, I'll put these in my own words. I don't know anything about this group. I'm gonna look them up. Oh, look at that. Largest indigenous group in Mexico today. That's cool. I don't know. Maybe I'm a big fan of like including maps and things like that. I would try to include an image on every single slide. Um, and I would just sort of proceed through the process. I'm gonna skip intro here and just say build this out. Okay. Um, I might even do like or search this and do an image search and just sort of see what sort of things come up. Um, it's any visual I think is helpful for students, but when the visual is not primary, oh, hold on, hold the phone. When did you add this digital inquiry group? Good job, Joel. This has got to be a new one. Well, not that new. Don't you dare beat me to this. Well, steal their image. I'll go look it up in a second. For our purposes, I will carry on. Actually, this is not a good image because it's got the Spanish in there. I'll adjust. Okay, so you build this out. Okay, build out the PowerPoint, add about 10 slides. So I'm at 5. I need 5 more with content that helps tell the story. So I'm going to start with her childhood. I will probably add a slide here about Spanish conquest. I will add a slide about agency and helping. This one I will design around helping students understand the challenge of conceptualizing someone's agency when they are enslaved or female in a culture that obviously doesn't care about their thoughts on this. Mother of air. This is really juicy. At some point, so she has a son that's Cortez's. At some point, his Spanish wife actually comes to the Americas and is like on an island in the Caribbean, and that gets really complicated. I can't remember what happens. I'll have to look that back up and make it fresh in my brain. But basically, I think he figures out a way to not be married to that woman so that he could justify keeping his heir and not making the heir a bastard or something. Anyway, I'm making that up. Don't quote me on it. Okay, so mother of the heir. How many am I at? Okay, I need one more. So we'll put the question here again. Um, I'm going to do something like reactions from people. I will go, the Remedial Herstory Project does have an article on her. So I'll go here and pull some things from our textbook, learn, and then it's under gender dynamics in new worlds. Where is she? How I spelled her name. Going through it again. Oh, maybe it's not in here. Hang on. Let's see if this works. Hmm. Not in the Reformation. Oh, encounters in new worlds. Okay, that makes more sense. I will probably steal some of this because I wrote it, therefore it's not stealing. All right, here she is. Mediator, propaganda. Hmm. Um, This is a good quote to pull. Okay. So, all right. So I'll go through and add and build this out. And those are the types of details that take time when you're building these inquiries. For now, I'm just going to close that. We go back to our assignment. I'm going to close this. Okay, next step is to identify a variety of perspectives on this issue. Honestly, you should sort of be doing that in here. So I know that she's complicated because she's indigenous nobility. And so there's got to be some indigenous people who might have thoughts about her. The Spanish might have thoughts about her. Her own voice is absent in the historical record. She's also the mother of his heir, so I'm wondering if the son had anything to say about her. I don't know. That. Um, Reactions from people. So, there's this little word here, this term, malinchista, referring to somebody who abandons their people. So like her name literally became the synonymous with traitor. Okay. So I'm starting to identify that as I build out the PowerPoint, but you should, if you haven't done that, like pause. What are the various perspectives that should be considered in this inquiry? Okay, so then you're going to collect important, limited, and modified documents. You don't need two sources that say similar things. So we're not writing a whole research paper where you could use 10 sources. You want to pick a handful of sources tops. I've given you a bunch of different templates here. Do not do a web quest unless the topic you are doing is current, meaning if the source material can change. And so it's better to tell them to like go look at, the New York Times and what their homepage is saying about this topic right now. Web quests should be reserved for like it would be a bad idea in a weird way, like the abortion inquiry that we've done in this class is a bad one to do with printed documents because there's so much new information happening right now that it's better to go to online sources. But for a topic like this one about the 1500s, the source material is pretty locked down, and so it's better to like print it and hand it to kids. It cuts out all those sorts of things. So I've given you 3 different templates here. I think that this one really is either a debate or a myth busting template, but because there's limited source material, I'm going to go with debate. So select that, okay? Oh, it looks like this one has my name on it, but you can obviously change that for you. So download the debate template and then open it. And if you want to open it in Google Drive or whatever, you can do that too. Okay. So, it looks like I gave you, like this is not actually a template, but you can delete the documents that are there. What's important is this first part where you get the sort of fill in the blank up top. So my compelling question was have I been spelling this wrong? No. Okay. Description. In this inquiry, students will examine sources. Okay. I'll elaborate on that more. I need to find source material. So it's important to spend some time. You'll notice that when I'm building these, I will have like a dozen tabs open about them. If you know your source material well, you can just start doing this. Sometimes some kind historian, like maybe one at the American Historical Association, has already pulled them for you. Letters from Cortez. That's interesting. Hmm. A lot of these are books not linked here. So it's not super helpful. And then secondary sources, not interested. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Oh yeah, this is another nickname for her, Donna Marina. Okay, don't know what that is. A description of her, not super helpful. Oh, this is a good education source. Oh, we gotta have this. Ooh, that is in Spanish, which I do not speak. Here's a description of her. 16th century portrayal of her. This description is the most extensive from the period. Diaz del Castillo claims she was beautiful and intelligent. She could speak Nahuatl, I think, Maya and Mayan. Without her, Spaniards would have been lost. These words, while evocative, were written decades after he marched with Cortez. So it's more of his memory than something else. Okay, this is great. So I'm going to pull the English version of that. Okay. Um, okay, actually, sorry. This first part is all about okay. The first part's about her, and then the other part's not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this letter from Diaz, whatever, Del something, and then obviously you can get rid of these things in the template that don't belong to you. And then I'm going to paste in the text here. Now, what happened here? We all know that I have a strong preference for book antiqua font. And so that's just the first paragraph. I'm also going to pull over. Oh, actually, here we go. So this is actually the abstract. So I'm going to put that up here. And this is the citation. Okay, this is starting to look like a thing. Now, right now, I've put this in as document A, but I don't know that it's going to remain document A. I need to find more documents. But he seems like a reliable source in some extent. He knew her, he encountered her. Here he continues on about her, tells her story, and to some extent, this would actually be a really helpful he knew her child, he's brought this all them in tears, consoled. Us thanks God. Point. So he actually thanks her for helping with the conquest, which I feel like is not really great for her case about being a traitor. So factor that in. Sign of truth. Sometimes when you move things from PDFs, it does weird stuff, so you have to adjust. Okay, so then I paste those things in. I put dot 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 because obviously this came from a different part of the text. There's a lot of stuff in between there. This got funky. Like I don't know where paragraphs went, so I'll have to go back and verify that. And then the other thing is this is now fully 2 pages, and I don't know that I need all of this. So at the end, I'll spend some time cutting all of this down, trying to get it under a page. Because I'm designing this for high school, 11th grade, I it should be 12-point font. So I really need to cut it in half, basically. So I'll go through and cut that down, adding more, dot, dot, dots, etc. This is going to need, I think, some guiding questions. There's too many barriers here for students. So I'm going to add a couple guiding questions. And I think it's helpful to follow the HAPPY acronym that what is going on here? Why is it over there? Come over here. To follow the HAPPY acronym. Why is it oriented over here? Come back. This makes no sense. Sometimes when formatting's getting weird, it's just because these templates get all janked up. So there we go. All right. Sometimes just like delete stuff. I don't really know. So think about the source of the information, think about the context, and then close reading. Those are like the 3 categories that I usually use for developing questions. So who is Diaz del Castillo, and is he a reliable source for information about, right? Students are pretty trash at noticing date challenges. So he would have written this. So he wrote this in 1585. So when was this written in relation to Spanish conquest? The answer to this question is right here. So they were in Mexico those years, and he writes it nearly 60 years later. Okay, that's no bueno. Okay, close reading. I will pick some things that I want to make sure they notice. Like, how does he describe, right? Related to the inquiry. how, um, according to Diaz, so this is an interesting one because students are going to have to be able to jump. According to him, they couldn't have done Spanish conquest without her. So this is a good thing from his view. Like, thank God for this woman. But if you're thinking about it from an indigenous perspective, what the hell, lady? Right? Okay, so actually, I think this is actually a great document to start with because it sort of presents the myth, the enduring problem of dealing with her. And as you can see, I'm adjusting, like this was italicized for some reason, so I'm adjusting format kind of constantly as I go here to keep it all hunky-dory. Okay, I'm gonna want to find more primary sources. Okay, so this is a great one. I'll go back to my original source, see what else, like what does JSTOR come up with? Um, what do these people have? But I want to know, Lynch agency. I want a source here written by a gender studies scholar. That would be sort of, I think that's going to be my last source. And um, like this one, I think this is promising. Um, LA Times. The only thing I hate about the LA Times is that I'm probably going to get stuck, unable to access it because it's behind a paywall or something. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, LA Times. You stink. Duke University Press. This is more promising. One of the most important women in the history of the world whose lived experiences is pieced together from others' words, not her own. Bit of a visual collection. I think the reason I want to end with a gender studies source is that I want students to really think about, even though this guy is saying that she was really helpful and that could be problematic um for her role as a traitor, we need to think about how much agency she actually had, right? Um Wow, so many pop-ups and weird things happening. Stop. No. Cease. The Spanish baptized. Whoa, I didn't know this. It skipped away, but the Spanish baptized women to justify raping them. How fun. So, okay, The Hill. You have so many ads. Why are you advertising all these things? Okay. She was largely forgotten, myth busting, maintain respect for the women, naming volcanoes, peaks, ceremonial dances after her. In some rural towns, girls are registered soon after birth to represent. Da, 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 da. Now there's a growing body of academic literature attempting to contextualize her life, and the Mexican government is joining the effort. Da, 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 da. Okay. If there weren't so many um, viewing her objectively is impossible. A historian, blah, blah, blah. Most academics today don't see her as a traitor because the Aztecs were her enemies in a world. Yeah, so this is the type of source that I think would be really valuable to students near the end to help pull all the bits together. So I apologize that I gave you a template that has all of this stuff from the Opium Wars in it, but really you don't need any of that. So I might use this as my document D, whatever the title of the article is, context, the Hill is a blah, 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 describe them. And then this, oh, no. If you do Command Shift V, it'll print in with the proper font and format and that sort of thing. Okay. Camilla Townsend is like the leading historian on like all things Indigenous women. I'm actually going to ask her to review this lesson plan when I'm done building it before we publish it at the Remedial History Project. So That's awesome. I've interviewed her a couple times on the podcast, and she's great. Here's the part about baptizing women. I'm kind of doing this in reverse, but that's okay. And that's actually, I really just want this middle part of it. So I might even do this, just do that particular section of the article. And so I'm going to take down all the citation information, put it down here. Da, da, da. And essentially, you're just pulling all these things together. This particular lesson plan, you do want to include guiding questions for students to help them understand it. But then up here, they need to sort the evidence. So evidence, she was a traitor. Evidence, she was a victim. Or maybe I had limited agency. Something like that. In favor and against whether, right? And so you'll fill in, no, yeah. As you read that show, whether she was a traitor. And then this number 2 should basically stay the same. In conclusion was, okay, awesome. So that gives you the gist. So you're plugging those things in, and then I'm gonna X out of this really quickly. Obviously I'm not done with those, but this has taken me not very long, and I have the bones of what I'm doing. You're gonna go through and review formatting because I'm a psychopath about formatting. Make sure it's normal font, Book Antiqua, everything's indented properly, that sort of thing. Then you're going to go ahead and download this dynamic lesson plan template. You use this template in the fall. Here's what I want you to do, okay? It is easier to start here. So what's the question? What standards connect to this? What's the question again? Okay, what are the kids going to remember? So I need a question. Who was she? That's a remembering question. What do they want? I want them to understand. I want them to understand that because she was enslaved, she had limited agency. That's the key understanding. So I might ask a supporting question like, how much agency did Milinch have? Question mark. An analyzing or applying question. What do sources say about her role in Spanish conquest? Okay, objectives. I want them to know that she had limited agency. Students are able to, this one should pretty much always be the same, analyze primary and secondary sources. Students, craft an argument, okay? Then you're going to go through and think about the whole lesson plan. What sort of facts do they need to remember here? So facts I would write down about this. When she was born, who Cortez was. I would just write Cortez. You're not writing down the thing because that's embedded in the PowerPoint. You're writing down under remembering, it's literally just a list. So Spanish conquest, 1517 to 1521 or whatever it was. Cortez, you're writing down her name, you're writing down enslaved, you're writing down agency, you're writing down key words that students are going to learn when they do this lesson. Understanding, students are going to understand the concept of agency and how enslaved people have limited agency. Apply. Students are going to make connections between this and other cases where people are enslaved. People are going to make connections between this and, other women's experiences in other places, that sort of thing. Other conquests. They're going to, and then these 2, 3 should almost always be the same. They are going to analyze primary sources. They are going to evaluate primary sources, and they're going to create an argument every single time. C3 standards, pull up the C3 framework. You don't have it. First of all, you need to save it onto your computer and get this PDF. And then you're going to go through here and you're going to look for sources or for skills that you are teaching in this lesson plan at grade level. So this is a high school history lesson. So I'm going to scroll to history. Each section is color coded. I forget what color history is. I think it's purple. Let's see if I know this well. Probably not. We'll find out. I clearly just blazed past it. Civics, economics, geography, history. It is purple. Okay. So they're going to evaluate historical events and whether they were shaped in circumstances in their time and place, as well as broader context. Sure. Analyze change in continuity. Use questions generated about individuals to assess the significance of their actions. That sounds like what we're doing. So you're literally going to copy this entire thing, including D2, blah, 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 and you're going to plug that into this template right here. Paste it in. Okay. Okay, then I want you to think through all of these things. So what verbal skills are they going to be using? Well, my students are going to be reading, they're going to be writing. Are there any graphs? Ooh, I should include a map. That's reminding me that I should include a map as some of the visuals, because like Mexico, where is that place? Spatial. What other visuals am I providing? And so I might write here that there will be visuals in the PowerPoint. Okay. Maybe I could play some traditional like music, indigenous music as students are entering class. At some point, am I going to have them get up and move and be in groups? I probably should, right? All of those will fall out. This is a woman. These are indigenous Mexicans being talked about in this lesson plan. She's a young person when she is enslaved. Cortez is an old man because gross. There's no people with disabilities here. And so you just sort of fill in like what's being represented in this lesson plan. Down below is a play-by-play of how this is going to go. The things that are obvious is at the end, students are going to discuss or write or form their arguments, okay? Here, they are going to analyze, right? This is where they're actually doing the inquiry. So the part that's up for grabs here is how you open it and what you're doing sort of in between. The easy structure here is entry question, PowerPoint/notes, do the inquiry, discuss and wrap it up, or write it as a group, okay, or as individuals. You can leave these two blank, and then what materials would you need in order to do this lesson? You're probably going to need a PowerPoint, you're probably going to need a projector, you're going to need copies for the number of students in the class. Anything else? I don't know. You write it down. Does that make sense? So, this is a real fast version of how to do this. If you want examples of this filled out, you can download any lesson from the Remedial History Project. And then when you're done, you're going to submit all of these things, all these documents, the PowerPoint, the inquiry, and the lesson plan template here. Okay, all of it gets submitted. So there should be 3 different documents submitted, and then any other supplementary materials that you need in order to do the lesson. I believe in you. You can do it.